My name is Tim Marks, host of YouTube's Tractor Time with Tim. We stumbled into YouTube as a career. People say, how could you possibly stumble into it? Well, we did. We were simply publishing videos for our extended family and folks started watching them. We were just showing adventures with our little tractor, and before you knew it, we become the compact tractor experts, so to speak. As we continue to grow, we get more and more tractors, more and more attachments, which we test and we demonstrate. And seeing those attachments outside is just, it makes me sick. But we finally started this project to build this large building. We built it extra tall so that we can hold multiple layers vertically of attachments and tractors. Well, we won't put the tractors on the higher layers, but the attachments will go at least 3 layers high. This building is 96 by 56, the shop portion 18 feet high. We have the wash bay in the back because we have found that from late October to April, we're not able to wash outside, at least consistently. And we believe that we can take better care of our equipment if we can wash all winter. So the idea was here to make it a little bit difficult to determine where did the original house stop and the new addition began. Now it's not that difficult, but maybe you have to think about it for just a moment. So these are the original bricks from that side. They look a little different than the house, but that's just because they've been washed. The original house needs washing. We've got a mezzanine here where we're going to be storing a bunch of just, well, house stuff, right? I mean, our house storage was lacking. Now we want to have more storage capability. We're going to have these solar panels and a complete solar system. We won't be off-grid, but we will be, let's say, net zero. Hopefully we will produce as much energy as we use. The current office space is in the living room, and Christy's not very happy about that and hasn't been for years. So finally, I'm doing something for her. We're going to be moving that office out, and she can have her living room back and enjoy at least some peace away from our business. Now this is the airplane door here. It all opens as one big door, and you guys are going to foam it very, very soon. That's one of the reasons I like it so well, is it seals really tight against the frame. It pulls itself in tight, unlike a regular garage door. So it's going to have a real tight seal, and then the R value and the effective insulation value of that door will be just like the rest of the wall because you're applying your foam to it. I chose to use geothermal forced air heating, and the advantage of that is most achieved when you keep consistent temperatures. So I plan to keep like 67, 68 in the winter, 72 in the summer. And that's going to require me to have some effective insulation. I might have got away with less insulation if I'd said I'm going to leave it at 45, 50 degrees during the night and warm it up only while I'm in here, that type of thing. But I had decided I wanted to keep it consistent temperature, just like a house, sort of. So that's why I wanted high quality, very effective insulation. As I studied, I found that the key ingredient missing from some of the other insulation types is a good air seal, right? So if you use a lot of insulation types, you just have either a piece of plastic or maybe a little bit more advanced, but something really thin like this. This is your only air barrier. If I take a screw accidentally maybe and just poke through that, or perhaps I intentionally cut a hole for an outlet, I've broken my whole air seal, right? I mean, air can just come and go easily right through that. And with spray foam, the entire material itself is all air seal. So this is just a piece that they sprayed on the floor testing their guns, and that entire thickness is air seal. So even if I were to poke partially through this accidentally, I'm still not going to break that air seal. And that seems to be the #1 reason why spray foam can be so much thinner than other materials and still achieve the goal. I was bothered by the R value calculation because it just didn't seem to add up in my head. I would hear people talk about how an inch or 2 inches or 3 inches of spray foam is comparable or maybe even more effective than huge amounts of fiberglass. And it all came back to this air seal. So I recognized that R value wasn't the best, or at least a fully effective way to define installation value. So yeah, that's why I was looking at spray foam. Be careful putting too much weight on R value. It doesn't tell the whole story. The air infiltration or air sealing capabilities of closed cell foam far outweighs, at least in my opinion, the R value calculations in the total amount of insulation value. So don't put too much weight on those R values. Now it becomes very difficult to figure out how much spray foam you need, how to do an apples to apples comparison. Beyond that, I would recommend studying. Watch Spray Jones on YouTube, watch other people on YouTube, figure out how much spray foam insulation people are using in your area. Find actual homeowners and property owners in your area that have used it. Talk to them. Find out real world details. Don't focus on these numbers because we don't have an accurate measurement that covers the true value of this insulation. It's not going to be easy for me to measure the difference in cooling or heating cost with or without foam because this is a new build. But I do have estimates, those calculations the HVAC companies make for you, and that's what helped me get started on this. Those load calculations kind of illustrate the different types of insulation and the additional costs for me. I am certain that with the insulation I'm choosing, 3 inches on the wall, 3 inches on the ceiling, that I'm going to be able to keep this warm in the winter and cool in the summer without an enormous cost. When I combine that with my geothermal HVAC, the efficient approach there, and the solar panels on the roof, I actually expect to heat and cool this facility for nothing. It's pretty clear to me that if you do a perfect job of air sealing, spend a lot of effort on detail, the contractor is very tuned into the issue and they get a perfect air seal, that some of these fiber products can work and can work very well. I've seen that on our buildings YouTube channel. I've seen it on some other channels that I watch and study closely. But my contractors are just run-of-the-mill contractors. I've had great luck with them, but I don't think they're going to have that level of attention to detail, right? They might poke through the vapor barrier just a little bit. They're not going to worry about it. And if I'm not there to see them and correct them that moment, then that hole will go unnoticed. With spray foam, I don't have that issue because you can clearly see that just the way the foam expands into every nook and cranny and crevice, that every area is sealed. So an average job of applying this spray foam is going to be a lot better air seal than a perfect job of applying the thinner layer material with fiber behind it. I'm acting as the general contractor on this project, so from a logistical standpoint, I've had a lot of difficulty getting everything put in the right order. So the team here has been willing to work with me to do the walls first. We're doing the walls on the shop, the walls on our office section. Then I'm going to have the framing contractors back in to put the inside walls on, put the ceiling in, and then we'll come back in with spray foam on the ceiling at a later date. So from a logistical standpoint, that's been my challenge. And thankfully, the installation guys who are doing the invert install for me have just been incredibly flexible on that, and they have made that not a challenge at all. There was a lot of question about whether we should have the Tyvek on the walls. It's actually not Tyvek branded, but the house wrap that we have on the walls. Inverge really wanted to install directly on the steel walls. They believe that's the best way to get good contact. They know they have a great seal there when they have adhered directly to those steel walls. The building contractor, on the other hand, wanted the house wrap, and the main reason they want the house wrap is to be able to warranty the steel. They feel like that it's going to be harder to pull that steel off if it's directly attached to the closed cell insulation. So I really had no choice in the matter. The builder said, I'm going to put the house wrap on it and I'm going to give it to you for free because that's the only way I'm going to warranty it. So I didn't pay for the house wrap, but they insisted that it be installed. Then when I talked deeper with the insulation guys and Enverge, they said, no, it's really not an issue. It will be fine. You'll still get the structural advantages from closed cell foam, but maybe just not quite as much as if we were directly adhering to the steel. I'm very DIY focused, and it seems like almost every industry we talk to, the salespeople will say, you've got to use a qualified contractor, and it's over the top. And to be honest, a lot of times I think that's just them trying to sell me a more expensive product. What I've learned during the application of this spray foam is it really is important in this particular industry. This equipment is finicky. It has to be constantly adjusted. The weather changes even throughout the day. We happen to have had really good conditions for this install, but the weather conditions make a huge difference. The humidity levels, the temperatures both inside and outside, like on the substrate they're applying the wall. And there is just no way that I could have done this from a DIY standpoint. Further, an inexperienced contractor is going to have the same issues I'm going to have. I mean, we can laugh about where I tried to apply it on the wall myself, and yeah, I didn't do a very good job. I think I could learn that technique pretty quickly, but I'm not sure I could learn how to diagnose when it's not behaving the way it's supposed to behave, when it's not expanding as fast as it should, or when it's coming out in clumps. And just dealing with these different situations of humidity, temperature, changes in the machine, it's going to take someone with a lot of experience to make sure that I get a quality job. I haven't mentioned the structural value. In addition to the insulation value with this closed cell foam, I'm getting some increased structural integrity on the building. And so some of the value that I'm seeing in the closed cell foam is not just in reduced energy cost. Now, when it gets to cost itself, most of these calculations you see are calculated based off a static energy cost. You know, we look at our current energy rates, whether it be natural gas, propane, electricity, and we do these return on investment calculations based on that. Well, that's not how things actually work, right? I mean, if you've got any memory at all, you know that electricity costs are going up. As we get more and more data centers, there's more and more electricity demand. We're seeing gas prices continue to increase. So I view this as protecting from the future. It's not necessarily a specific return on investment number right now. It's that I expect those rates to continue to go up, and I'm paying this off once, right? This insulation is a one-time expense. Now I don't have to worry about the costs increasing over the years into the future. Initially, I chose an open cell spray foam insulation, and the reason was cost. I recognized that it had a lower R value, but from what I understood at the time, I was still getting some degree, or a pretty good degree, of that air seal. So I thought that open cell was a good compromise. Once the folks at Enverge stepped in to help me and educate me a little more, they explained that open cell might not be a good option for me in this shop, because with the opening of the doors, I'll have a lot of lack of control of the humidity. And then when they saw the wash bay, they said, no way, you really should not put open cell in a humid area like a wash bay. I also had the crawl space, and they said not to use open cell in the crawl space. So this was the advantage I saw from Enverge, was they really helped me a lot in guiding me towards the proper solution for my problems. They actually said that if I was in a fully conditioned space where you didn't have any humidity issues, that open cell would probably be fine in my climate zone. But they guided my specific build to closed cell. That made sense to me, so I stuck with it.
Now, Tim, since you went through our elite training.
I went through the training?
The elite training.
But I failed.